Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So guys, last night was the reset for 3v3 for me, and I spent quite a few hours trying to go from gold 3 in the red, like 700 points in the red, to the green, which was about 1300 or 1600. I forget exactly what it was, but basically I was grinding for like 2 or 3 hours in 3v3 arena. So what I want to do in this video is, instead of recording the whole push that I considered doing, but then I realized that nobody wants to watch 3 hours of 3v3 pushing, because that would literally probably be the most boring video ever. Hopefully this one's a little bit more entertaining and I guess informational than that one. But this video, what I want to do, obviously, if I go in here and show you guys my champions, my team, some of you are going to look at this right here, these teams set up, and be like, okay, I have all those champions, no problem. And some of you are going to look at it like, yeah, I have none of those champions whatsoever. So this video literally is going to be useless for me, okay? Now, what I want to do is less about, hey, you need to use these specific champions, because no matter where you're at in 3v3, you can take some of these tips and use them for your level of play. And if you have these champions, some of them are free, then you can maybe consider building them that way. And if not, I could definitely use some of your guys' opinions down below. If you have different teams that you're really enjoying in 3v3, I'm definitely very interested in knowing, because there are tons of options you can use for different teams, no matter what level of 3v3 you're at. So let me show you guys my teams. I'm going to show you the teams. I'm going to do a few matches, and then we're going to jump into going over the champions, kind of the breakdown of each team, where I use it, kind of my goals and my thought processes as going through, or when going through 3v3, and then kind of move from there. So this video is definitely going to be a lot different than the ones I usually make, and hopefully you guys like it. If you do, let me know down in the comment section below. Drop a like. But first off, let's go ahead and click a random team. Okay, so we'll scroll through here. So this Hedgie one, okay? So we have a Hedgie and Warlord up here. We have a Torment on the second team, and the bottom team's a fast one. So this team up top, there's no speed lead. Obviously, Hedgie's in there, so he's going to be going first. Guaranteed. I have no Hedgie to counter that, so not a big deal. The second team is probably going to be fairly fast. Kymar in the lead, but they have no second Terminator booster. They do have a Provoke champion and a Strip champion from Gurgo, so it could be speed tuned, but I can assume that I'm probably faster than them if I have a pretty quick team. So like my Siphi team right here, or my Arbiter team is probably going to be faster than them. I'm going to use my Siphi team because they have Torment, and my Arbiter team can't counter Torment because we have no block buffs on that team, or block debuffs better yet. So what I'm going to do is go in here. Let's go ahead and throw in my, so the first team at the very top, it's got Hedgie and Warlord. So the only team that I could do that could kind of counter that is going to be this one right here. It's a Go Second versus Nuke. I would almost rather them be at the very bottom, but if I put this Go Second versus Nuke team at the top, this is my very tanky team, very tanky Go Second team. This has a better chance of winning this top match than if I was to put this damaged team or a similar team that's definitely gonna get nuked down by the Hedgie up here, and then I have to worry about possibly allowing this Go Second team to win at this bottom one. So I'm thinking this is gonna set me up for the most likelihood of actual success. I don't like doing the speed races very often. At the very bottom, you'll see here my Arbiter versus their Arbiter. Their team power is higher than mine. A lot of that is due to resistance, but I can go ahead and say that I'm probably slower. My Arbiter is like 359, so I don't like competing in the speed races very often at all, because I usually lose them. So that very bottom team, if I win the speed race, I win the match. But if I don't, which I probably won't win the speed race, then I probably lose the match. So these matches, I'm just going to do 100% auto. I'm going to have my Necrit go ahead and ally attack on the Warlord, because the Warlord's the most troublesome champion here. If he doesn't get a turn, my team's going to clear it pretty quickly. But if he does get a turn to lock me out, it's going to be a pretty bad situation. So I'm going to go through some of these teams, like I said, and then after we go through a few of these matches and you guys can kind of see how I pick out my teams, then I'll jump into the breakdown of some of these teams. And I got a feeling a lot of you, while you may not be able to build the exact teams that I have, you may be able to build teams that have very similar functionality. Also, if you guys want to see me do some takeovers on people's accounts with maybe lower level 3v3 teams, I can definitely do that. Quite a few people are asking for help on 3v3, so it's definitely a lot of options out there and a lot of different levels of accounts. So definitely let me know that as well down in the comment section. So the second team, I should be okay if I'm faster than them. I should be faster than them because I have a speed champion. They don't really have a fast champion. Their fastest champion's probably Kymar, just to strip me, or maybe even the Gurgo. But either way, definitely outsped them. No big deal. Now going against Torment, there's actually a lot of options to go against Torment. A lot of people actually do have options. They just don't realize it. Now this is where speed tuning is so important. So unfortunately, we didn't strip them. We do have the bombs placed, but I don't think it's really going to matter because this team is actually pretty weak against Necrit. Because if we don't have a strip for Foley, so, or for the shield and stuff that Necrit puts on the champion with the lowest HP. So if Lady Kimmy doesn't strip the block debuffs, then we can't place the bombs from Gaius, and it gets a little bit weird. But everybody who has bombs placed on them from Gaius is probably going to die, right? Like there's no really no way around that. They're going to die. Gaius bombs are going to kill them. No real problem there whatsoever. But this Foley is going to be an issue for sure. We'll go ahead and get rid of Necrit. Boom, he's gone. And then we'll res Basher because we do want to keep the Foley locked out if we can. If he can get back around to that lockout ability, it'd be great. Basher is a good champion, but he has the major downside of only locking people out for 2 turns and no turn meter reduction, whereas Warlord fully locks out their skill and has that very nice turn meter reduction. So he's a great champion, definitely an upgraded version of Basher, but Basher can kind of do the job. But there, Warlord would have made that Foley do absolutely nothing, whereas Basher, it's just hard to keep him locked out very long because 2 turns of a lockout is not very much whatsoever. But we got 2 wins, lost 1, not a big deal. We net positive as far as going through 3v3. So that's the main thing with 3v3. If you can win 2 out of 3 consistently, you're doing very good. Now here, we have a very tanky team up top. I would like my bomb team to be against this team up top, but to be honest, the only option that I have is maybe this Mithrala team, though Mithrala is a little bit weird in the fact that when she cleanses, she doesn't put up any block debuffs. So you would need your Duchess, you would need your Siphi, you would need your Skytouch Shaman, your Rio Bone Spear to go before Mithrala, because usually she's the one's cleansing, but since she's not, I guess I would just have to make her use her A1 ability, then have Duchess use her A2 to place block buffs or block debuffs on everybody. Sorry, I get those mixed up all the time, block debuffs and block buffs. But either way, we can fight this team. Not any like super easy solution there, not any like super easy matchup. What I like to do with my matchups is I like to have a team that I know can beat Hegemons, usually fairly easy. I like a team that can beat Torments, usually fairly easily, because most of the time people have those 2 champions on different teams. For example, here, we have a Hegemon at the very end. What I'll do is I know, hey, my Go Second versus Nuke team can beat this team down at the bottom. So boom, that's an easy 1 out of 3 victory. Enter the thing, and now I can see, okay, well, where can I get the other victory from? Maybe the second team right here. Maybe I can use my bomb champion to go ahead and deal with that, possibly, but maybe not. So the first team up top, we will go ahead and use, this team's probably not going to be speed tuned, because if you take a look, we have an Arbiter speed booster. We have Ursuga, who's not going to do any boosting or no provoking, no sleeping, nothing like that. We have Wither, who's not really going to do much. Then we have a Rhodos, who's going to probably be fairly hard to tune. So I could use either my fastest team, or I could just use my bomb team. Either one's going to be perfectly fine. The bomb team I've been liking, so just for the sake of using it, I'm going to go ahead and put it there. We'll use my Siphi and Torment team second, and then my Go Second team at the very bottom. And then after this one, I want to show you guys kind of more information as far as how my teams are built and how my Mithrala is built. Mithrala is a champion who I've been playing around with lately quite a bit, and I've changed her build up a ton. You can kind of tell by the amount of silver that I have, which is very low right now. But it costs so much to move gear around. It's absolutely insane how expensive it is to move gear around. Now, this is the bad situation. Like this Wither very well may get a turn. So I need to turn it off of auto and allow Gaius to actually use his abilities, because if she gets a turn, she's going to cleanse stuff. I don't want Arbiter to res, so I'll go ahead and kill her. If anybody else takes a turn, it doesn't really matter. Nobody else here is really a threat. The Ursuga, not really that big of a deal. She's not going to kill me. She'll stall the match out. She'll make it annoying, but she's not going to kill me. I wish Wither was still locked out, but she's going to cleanse everything here because Basher's lockout is only for 2 turns. So any team you use with Basher, you got to be very careful about who you prioritize as far as focusing down, because I noticed before that if I was using Gaius to explode the bombs on a different champion, depending on who it is, depending on the cooldowns of the bombs, you'll learn once you do a few matches with Gaius, but you need to make sure you're exploding the bombs on the champion before Wither cleanses them, okay? Be very mindful about who you're exploding the bombs on. Usually I'm going for the res champion, because if the res champion's taken out, then the team can't really do much else past that. Maybe even the cleanser in some situations as well. So here, Ursuga should die once these bombs go off. But the bomb teams are awesome. I before was using a bomb team with Stoneskin. So I would have Yoshi and Stoneskin, Rian the Conjurer, Gaius, and Basher. And it worked great. I like the team. But I'm starting to like this one a little bit more, because now I can have a fast team. It's very good against very tanky teams. Honestly, this team doesn't even have to be very fast. All I need is the increased attack, the increased accuracy. As long as I'm faster than typical tanky teams, then I'm good to go. My 360 speed Arbiter, not really needed. Honestly, 300 speed would be perfectly fine. I just need to be faster than the majority of tanky teams. Not very often do I try to win a speed race, because like I said, my Arbiter is not that fast compared to where some people are at, and especially in Gold 4, she's not fast at all. So I don't very often try to compete in those speed races. I really like to take these teams like a tanky Go Second team, throw them against these fast teams, and then hope for the best, and it usually turns out pretty well. Now, this part is a great example. I could either cleanse here. Now, a lot of times I just do this on full auto. I have it set to full auto, she'll automatically cleanse. But hey, might as well use the A2. Maybe get the petrification off on Trunda once she hits. And this is the key thing about being speed tuned. My Necrit needs to be boosted up a little bit in speed. But because my Mithrala, Duchess, and Necrit technically are so close in speed that teams like this with the Kymar, if the Kymar would have slept me, it wouldn't have mattered. My Mithrala would have resisted it, cleansed everybody. Duchess would have went right after her, and then ideally Necrit, ideally cutting in on the Trunda, so then I can just, single out the Kymar, single out the Lydia, single out whoever I want, and then Leoris fails in the middle of the video because he has strengthened on him and doesn't actually kill the Kymar. But either way, this team works out pretty smoothly. So Mithrala is a champion who I think can be really good, and I've gone against very different teams, very different people using her. Some people use her, and she's an absolute pain. She's a headache. She's a nightmare to go against. And then sometimes I go against her, and it's like people have her speed tuned very oddly, and she doesn't really seem to be doing anything for the team, at least from what I've noticed, okay? All right, guys, so now that we've shown a few matches, let's jump in here and talk about the champion's gearing. So first up is Mithrala. She's built to be the fastest on that Go second team. I have her with decent HP, decent defense. I tried to push these up as high as I could to make her survive. Reaction gear if possible, because I want her to be as tanky as possible. And then I have about 800 resistance. So 514 plus 273, add these numbers together because of Mithrala's passive, gives her a resistance equal to her accuracy plus her resistance, puts her at 787. Now, there's definitely Mithralas out there with way more resistance, but my goal with her was not to resist the people who are bringing in increased accuracy champions, because if you bring an increased accuracy champion with your champion who's already, say, 600 accuracy, which isn't very difficult to get, then you're going to easily strip my champion. There's no reason for me to build 800, 900 resistance if I'm destroying my defense and HP, and you're just going to nuke through me anyways. So find that balance for where you're at in your account, in my opinion, and decide how you want to build your Mithrala. Another way is to throw her in immunity gear, untouchable gear. Definitely very solid, especially if you're going against Hegemons who can have stun sets and things like that, because stun sets don't need accuracy to land, and it's definitely a weakness in my Mithrala, but my gear is just not to the point to allow me to build with good resistance and have the immunity or the untouchable and have good speed and all the other stats. Now the next champion is Necrit. Necrit's in a Guardian set, just use to tank some more damage because my Mithrala, I've noticed, was very squishy. Even with the stats she's at, she was getting absolutely obliterated. And if she's dying, then the rest of my team kind of falls apart. So Necrit's there to kind of soak some more of that damage. Mithrala's masteries, just real quick, don't necessarily follow these 100%. I'm still testing a lot of this stuff. But Necrit, here's his build. Here's his gear. He's one of the faster Necrits that I think I've ever built. Usually I would build my Necrit very slow, but what I've done here is I'm trying to have Mithrala cleanse, Duchess place block debuffs up, and then Necrit uses ally attack as soon as possible. Necrit is a super, super annoying champion, and if he cuts in, especially on a Kymar, because most teams with Kymars aren't speed tuned, so Necrit can cut in, use his A2 ability, kill a damage dealer, kill somebody, and it's going to really mess teams up, or at least that's my idea in my head. And it's been working pretty well, at least on offense. My offense and my defense teams are the same right now. But here's his masteries. Leoris, just built for damage. You can use Candrifon. You can use really any other damage dealer here. Not a huge deal. Leoris is amazing. He has unkillable. Essentially, he has this basically swift parry built into his kit, and he hits like an absolute truck. Leo's an amazing champion, but you can use a lot of other damage dealers here. Duchess, damage mitigation, increase attack, perfect veil, res. Very, very, very good champion. She's in Stone Skin because, once again, she was getting absolutely obliterated by the Trundas. So now being in Stone Skin, if a Trunda nukes before she gets a turn, then the Stone Skin basically going to ignore all the damage because it's really hard to kill somebody through Stone Skin gear. Also has some reaction in case the Stone Skin gets stripped. Now her masteries are looking like this. Once again, don't necessarily follow these exactly, but if you are speed tuned, you do need to keep in mind that you don't want the masteries like Cycle of Revenge or maybe even Timely Intervention, because if your champions are really close in their speed tune and one of those masteries proc, then it's going to throw off the speed tune from actually being correct. Maybe even Arcane Celerity and Rapid Response may not be the best idea depending on how your team is actually working. Definitely look into those masteries, have an understanding before you jump into those. Now my next team is just Kymar, Solus, Madame Ceres, and Siphi. This team is very, very simple. Kymar is pretty fast. Siphi is the fastest. She's speed tuned with my Kymar. Speed's the only thing I care about her. Kymar, speed and accuracy. 610 accuracy. Definitely not crazy, but definitely not bad. Good speed there. His masteries and Siphi's masteries aren't really that important, to be honest. The defensive team was more important as far as their gearing. This next team is not so much until you get to Solus and Madam. So with this team, let me make sure this is Madam number 1 with Solus. So the very important thing with these two champions is that their speeds are very close together. I've seen a lot of times where people will have their Madam Ceres maybe like 20, 30 speed above their nuker, and what happens is the Madam Ceres will strip everybody, and then the other team will wake up and get a turn, and they'll place a buff up or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden your nuker, or maybe even they'll cleanse, and then all of a sudden your nuker nukes into a increased defense, block debuffs, enemy team, and doesn't do anything whatsoever. Hits like an absolute wet noodle, and nobody likes that. So my Madam Ceres is sitting at 182 speed, and my Solus is sitting at 175. Honestly, I would rather those champions to be closer, and if I wanted to take it to a next level, I would make sure their resistance was very similar as well, because if an enemy Valkyrie manipulate my turn meter or anything like that, I would want to make sure that they're both getting manipulated pretty equally so they stay in the speed tune like they are. Now that is my Solus team. My next team is the one that I've been playing with a little bit. Haven't fully fleshed it out, but I've been liking it. Basically, it's just a fast Arbiter into a Lady Kimmy for the increased accuracy, to allow Gaius to have a higher chance of placing his bombs. And then I have Basher going after Gaius. Now, if I had Warlord, maybe I wouldn't care about the order as much, but the issue is that Basher only locks out for 2 turns. So it's a little bit difficult. I don't love that it's only for 2 turns. I wish it was for longer. I wish he had a turn meter decrease. I wish something extra was in his kit, but this is what it is. Not a huge deal. Yumiko would be an upgraded version. Basher, or Warlord, obviously would be a much upgraded version. But basically my idea is that, hey, Gaius is going to come in here, place all the bombs, place the sleep, and then Basher's going to come in, and I'm going to be able to gear him with a lot more accuracy than I could my Gaius, and Basher should be able to lock out even Mithrala's. 646 accuracy, so 646 times 0.5, 323. So we're going to have a total of 969 accuracy. So if you had a Mithrala, you would need to be about 1,050 accurate or resistance to actually resist this Basher. Definitely not unachievable, but I'd say it's not very likely either. So it's definitely a pretty high accuracy Basher once you include Lady Kimmy's increased accuracy buff. And then obviously for Gaius, I have the increased attack buff from Arbiter. So those are my main teams. Take a look at these stats real quick. You guys can see the stats all from right there though. And then we'll jump into doing just a few more 3v3 matches just to show you guys some examples. Now this team doesn't have to be fast, like I mentioned. So like going through here, I'm not going to run this team in very many speed races. Sometimes I get stuck in some speed races. Not a huge deal. I'll try to do them. Maybe I'll throw it as my 3rd team and hope to win. Maybe not win, but who knows? But it definitely doesn't need to be a speed champion up here. You do want to be faster than most slow tanky teams. So like for example, if I wanted to use my Siphi up here, I could literally swap Siphi up here. It'd be perfectly fine. We have no increased attack, so not the best idea. I could use Duchess up there. Be no issue whatsoever. Duchess does block debuffs against this team. Then Lady Kimmy increase accuracy. Gaius does his bombs, and then Basher locks everybody out. So it'd be a perfectly fine team. I'm not going to do it because it doesn't really make a ton of sense because Lady Kimmy is currently faster than Duchess. So let's back out of this one. That one I would probably lose too many to actually for it to make sense. Actually, maybe it may be my only option. Actually, right here, let's go ahead and test this one. So we'll get rid of all these teams. We're going to throw in my Go second team. For this team right here, this is a pretty tanky one. This is a perfect example. So we'll go ahead and throw in my Gaius team. This team right here is the one I use a lot. The only issue is that, well, 1, Ray weak hits, and 2, it's kind of squishy. Like they die pretty easily. And to be honest, I just kind of like the second team. I've been playing around with it a little bit more, the Gaius team. I've been enjoying it. So let's go ahead and jump in here and give this team a shot. Hopefully we 3-0 them. If we do, great. If not, as long as we get 2-1, it's perfectly fine. Because as long as you're making net progress, that's all that really matters, right? As long as you can move up from week to week. Obviously, 3v3 is something great to be doing. You should definitely invest your time in it. Now, this is what I was talking about. A stun set on Hegemon messed up my Mithrala. Pretty bad situation. Unfortunate. Does wreck my team. Doesn't make it great. But there is no Warlord, so not locked out. Not the worst thing in the world, but definitely not great. If I had an untouchable set, if I had an immunity set, it'd be perfect. I don't, so it's not really great. Trunda may hit Leoris. He does proc his unkillable. That's why he's so incredibly good. Once he gets his turn, there's going to be a deleted because Leoris is an absolute monster, does incredible damage. As long as they don't ignore unkillable, this can be perfectly fine. Give him increased attack, and then watch this Lion. He's insane. He's absolutely insane. I usually don't worry about him not one-shotting a team ever, especially when he's at 1 HP like this. So we'll go ahead and use this A3 ability, and boom. Unless he has decreased attack. If he has decreased attack, it's a little bit weird sometimes. Now this team right here, we'll go ahead and increase the accuracy. And another good thing is I think they had a shield set. which is why I actually took a shield set off of my Duchess in the previous team, is because Lady Kimmy's absolutely love shield sets. They love it so much because now look, they all have block buffs, block buffs on them. I'm losing track of what the names are. Now we're gonna place bombs on everybody, meaning now none of them can proc swift parry. None of them can really do anything. They can't cast anything now except for Sathalia, and she very well may ruin my day because she does have a single target cleanse, which is definitely not great. Not great at all. But if Gaius can get around, I'll go ahead and okay, so she used the wrong ability, unfortunate, and now we're just gonna go ahead and finish off the team. I'll make sure to use Gaius to go ahead and kill her with his A2 ability, or A3. Boom, there we go. Turn on auto, and everybody falls down. I love the animation of the bombs going off. It just looks so cool, especially when somebody kills Gaius and the whole team just explodes. Bombs have to be the coolest animation when they actually kill and actually win. So this team here, interesting setup. Interesting setup for sure. But this team with Solus, Kymar, Siphi definitely makes Arena kind of easy on some teams, especially if you use a really fast Siphi. It's just such a good team. Solus hits so incredibly hard. Having the extra debuffs make him hit even harder. Just a perfect setup. Very, very good team. Siphi, Kymar, Solus, Madam. It's like a cheat code in the arena, to be honest. Now, as far as these teams go, basically what I have, to like summarize it more or less, is I have a fast team, ideally. Well, a team, actually not even necessarily a fast team. I do have a fast team, but I never actually try to do speed races like I'm saying. What I have here is I have an answer for Hegemons, which are pretty popular in the level of arena that I'm at. I have an answer for Tormund, which is also pretty popular for the level of arena that I'm at. I have an answer for some nuke teams like this, which obviously is typically pretty popular in all levels of the arena. And then I have an answer for high resistance, more tanky teams, which are very popular for where I'm at in the arena right now. Now, this is going to be an interesting situation because the team that I use to counter this team up top is the same team that I use to counter this team at the bottom. This team at the bottom, I do have other options, but I haven't built them yet. The Hegemon is an issue in himself to deal with. I don't think my Cardiel is actually geared at this point to go in here and deal with this. Let's see. So Cardiel is not geared whatsoever. So I can't actually throw him in there versus the Hegemon, unfortunately. Yeah, so it's too bad. I just kind of got to hope that on the second team that I can actually win. So what I'll do is I'll use my fast team here. Ideally, I'll be faster than this team. Hopefully, I have more accuracy than they have resistance, which I should. My Gaius is going to be a little bit on the lower side. Let's see where he's at. Gaius is sitting at 405, so like 600 accuracy. So he's probably going to get resisted. To be 100% honest, he's probably going to be resisted. But they have no res. They have no cleanse. So it doesn't really matter. As long as I at least place the bombs on Kymar, maybe even on Warlord, ideally on Mountain King, which probably is not going to have 600 resistance. But possibly 380,000 player power. It's not that crazy, though. So we'll leave this team at the top just for the interest of the +2s and +4 and +1, you know, the empowering. This team has a better likelihood of winning against the top one versus the bottom one. So, hey, let's go ahead and jump into it. Did that say 10.7? No, there's no way. I think it said 1.07 million player power. That's some crazy high player power overall. Now, my defense, I'll show you guys how it's doing, but I don't think it's been attacked today at all. So, Mithrala, she actually gets placed debuffs on. Wow. That's a lot of accuracy on that Yumiko. What in the world? What? How much accuracy does she need to have? Like, well, I guess 840 is actually that crazy high, to be honest. It's definitely doable. It was a empowered Yumiko as well. So I guess I need to get in the loop with these empowered champion stats. So who gave the res? I think it was, I guess it had to have been Arbiter. So Molly still has her res, or I could kill Trunda. I gotta be careful, or I could just get rid of Trunda, have Molly do a res again. Trunda will come back with a block damage though, unfortunately. And then next turn we should have the AoE ability from Leoris. So ideally Trunda takes a turn, does some good damage to Leoris. Leoris comes in, uses AoE ability, and he's basically the cheat code for the arena. He's absolutely insane, like I said. But here we go. He counterattacks. That's another thing. Revenge accessories on your damage dealers and your Go Second teams, absolutely incredible. Another thing with this team, you can use Seeker in this team. My goal is just to keep Mithrala alive, allow Mithrala to cleanse the team, allow my team to cut in, and start actually doing some work. So if you guys want to see specific other options broken down for these teams, let me know. I'm hoping that some of these ideas kind of help you guys out. I know there's so many different champions you can have in your accounts. It's difficult to give advice to everybody, but hopefully some of this stuff can help you all out. So everybody's locked out. Everything should be perfectly fine. Hopefully that Mountain King hits my Gaius just to see everybody fall down pretty quick. That'd be awesome. But I love the block buffs on everybody because they can't have Swift Parry no more. Perfect. No unkillable, nothing like that. No big deal whatsoever. So Mountain King's always targeting the Basher. It seems like everybody's always targeting Basher. I guess because he's probably the lowest HP, most squishy on my team. Boom, there goes Warlord, there goes Lydia, and here goes Mountain King in a few seconds, hopefully. Even more bombs. I don't think we need them. I think it's maybe a little bit overkill. 62,000 per bomb. That's pretty nice. Now, against Hedgies, we have no chance. I was going to say we have a chance if it doesn't place the debuffs, but that's a nuke Hedgie. So, yeah. Solus, you can try, buddy, but I don't think you're going to do much here. We have decreased attack on him. Not a big deal. He's not attack-based. It doesn't really matter. But there we go. 1, 2 out of 3. So if your teams are set up and you know what teams you can counter, you're going to do a lot better in 3v3. So if you have an idea, hey, I see a lot of whatever it may be. Maybe it's Torments in your level of arena. Maybe bring in Skytouch Shaman, bring in Rio, bring in any champion who can cleanse and place block buffs, or bring a block debuffs, or bring in a champion who is fairly fast. Just keep in mind, hey, this team has a speed booster. This team doesn't. You can kind of start seeing which teams are going to be speed tuned. Like if it has Prince Kymar into a Siphi, you can assume, hey, this team's probably going to be speed tuned. If I bring in a fast champion, I got to actually win the speed race. I prefer to not compete in speed races. I prefer to kind of know a little bit more about, hey, I can win this, or hey, I'm not going to be able to win this before I ever get into it. Like I said, speed races, they're not for me. They're not for me whatsoever. So I got to be very careful about the matches that I pick and choose because my team's just not that fast, to be honest. But guys, this is getting pretty long, but it's not 3 hours like it could have been if I would have shown you all the entire pushing from Gold 3 into Gold 4. But if you guys want more broken down stuff, let me know down below. Definitely be more than happy to share it. I know this was a pretty overall idea and just a showcase of my teams. May have been helpful, may not have been helpful, but I wanted to share this with you guys. So thank you all very much for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.